Hi all, welcome back to this channel. First of all, it's a really great job everyone who have participated in this Rampage Rally challenge, and congratulations to all those winners and really good job. In this video, I'm going to explain the step-by-step process of building this shot and some simple techniques or tricks that I used. This shot might look very complex with all those volumetrics, clouds, VDBs and trees, but I just tried to keep everything sorted by creating the layering, proper layering, and keeping the file optimized, and everything is really light, not that heavy as it looks. And I'm going to discuss all those points in this video, and I'm going to show some of the ideas that I followed. And let's get started. First, I begin the shot with adding the layout or the reference that has been given for the shot, which is camera and this set. And of course we need to set the resolution and the frame length and the fps, which is as given. I just don't want to see this solid, so I made it wireframe. Go to the visibility and make it wire so that it won't be solid, so I can easily add my stuff in the shot. And then also for this box, and let's view it from the camera here. Now I know that my hero object should be around this box and need to follow the rule. So first thing, I will bring that hero object in the shot. Before bringing in the hero character, which is the warship, I will show all the assets that I used for this shot. So these are the rock models that I had, and I purchased this from the CG traders. I have shared the link for all the assets that I used for the shot. These are the hero rocks that I used for the shot, and I just copied them from multiple times and just spread it all over the shot to make the layout look big. Then I use these trees. These are from Polyhaven. I have shared the link for this too. And these rocks I used for as a floating rocks. And this is the hero object, which is the warship. And then this is the creature that I used as a reference from the avatar, and some of the cloud element that I have. These are the free VDBs I have downloaded long back, and I use this all for the shot. I have all the reference data in this folder, like camera and the base of the shot. First I will create a scene, and then I will start adding the FG. First thing, I have added the animated warship in the shot. Let's pick that in. I'll call it hero fly. So I have my hero character here in the shot. Then I started adding the FG element, like adding the rocks and the trees in the extreme foreground, or this first jump somewhere from here to here. So I'll bring that in. So these are the first element that I used for this shot, like adding these rocks. Let me maximize this viewport. So I added some rocks here and this big rock pillar here, and made the floor first. Like if I just look at it from the side view, you can feel that all the rocks are just placed randomly here to get that visual interest in the shot. If I turn off the trees, you can just read the only rocks, so the shot is only with the rocks now. First I added the rock element because without that it's very difficult to add the trees, and I don't know exactly where to add. Once I have set the foreground element, like adding the trees and the rocks, I next move to the MG area, which is mid-ground. So this is the mid-ground setup I have. I just copied the same rock elements and these cliffs and everything and just kept it in the mid-ground, and then the same trees that I used for the foreground, I just copied those same trees and duplicating them all over the mid-ground cliffs or the rocks here, so that we'll get that more denser effect in the camera. From the camera angle, I can just read more denser trees somewhere around on these frames. So these are the main theme in this shot, that I wanted to keep more denser tree look in the mid-ground and the foreground wherever the camera is moving. So after adding the mid-ground, this background looks so empty, so I started adding the background element. Like, let me bring that into this one and this and this, like adding more depth to the shot by adding these background clips. I just copied them again and placed them in the background to get that more detailed look from this angle whenever the camera is reading in the background. Later I did a lot of fog, but in that fog we needed some kind of structural information, so I did like a lot of background stuff, just adding them by duplicating in the background and moving them all over the place. Now the scene is already set with the proper trees and the layout and all those background clips and the main hero characters. I started adding the light. For the lighting, I did not use any very fancy lighting setup. I just used the default sky texture. I'll show that. Let's press new, go to the color and use the sky texture for the lighting, and by default we have these values. Let's see how that looks with the by default values. I'll just keep the camera and I'll keep everything off for the reference, and ramp and all that box. Okay, so with this default lighting everything looks fine, but now we're reading very sharp light. Okay, I just turn off the trees because it's too heavy to see the lighting in the real time, so I'll keep it off for now. Now if I just see it from the film and I'll keep the transparent off, we can see the sky, and sky is too bright because our light is from this angle, very frontal one, and that looks very bright. I started playing with the light, but before that I will add the fog box, like adding the fog in the scene. With the fog I can judge the camera angle, and I can see that how the depth is coming. I will turn on the transparent mode and then I will add the fog because it will be very helpful to add the depth in the shot by adding the fog. So I'll bring the fog in the shot. So for the fog I haven't done any big thing, just adding a box and then added the volumetric, like principal volume here to the box, and added a slight bluish tint, and the density is too low here. Like if I just make it 0.1, you can see the values like the denser fog, and it will just go blank. So I kept the values like extremely low, like 0.002, and I think that worked well for my shot. Now with the frontal light, like all the default setting with the light, it looks too bright, so I started playing with the light, and then first thing I did is the rotation. I started playing with the rotation, like I just wanted to see which angle looks good. Let's make this a bit bigger and you can get it more. So I tried like multiple times with a different camera, different angle and the different values of the light, and then I ended up with adding some of these values. Like I made the sun size 5 because I don't want it to read the shadows very harsh here. Like if I just click any rock and then go to that rock, let's turn off the fog first, and I can show it in a better way. Like for example, if I just take a look at this here, by default the values are set to 1, I guess. And if I keep that, you can read the shadow is too harsh, and I don't wanted that kind of shadows. I wanted to keep the shadows very softer because I have my shot full of fog, and I don't wanted to keep the harsh lighting with that kind of heavy dense fog in the scene. So that will just bring the more sense to the shot by using those softer shadows. So I made this values like 5 to get that softer shadows in the on the shot. And the intensity of the sun I made it 2, and then the strength I kept it 5.5. And the air values, the shot looks very warmer with this default values, which is 1. I made it like 0.6, and for the rotation I made it like negative 57.5, and the sun elevation I kept it around 27.2. So these are the values I used. So with these values of light and the rotation, the angle looks good and the shadows are softer and everything, but my shot is too lit at the beginning, and which I didn't like. So I made a little changes in my layout in the FG. So let's go and open that FG layer and see what I did here. Let's bring that back to the default. Now the FG is too lit and I want something to block that area. So for example, if I take a look at the layout and to understand it in a better way, let's see it from the top angle. My FG area is this. The whatever we are seeing here is this area, and our camera is from this angle, and now the light is coming from this side. We're getting hit by this side, and because there is nothing here in this area, our light is not blocking anything, and we're getting too brighter read on these rocks. So I want something there to block anything that can bring more shadowing in the FG area, and when my ship travels and go through the shot, it will just jump from dark to brighter point. So for that I simply added one big rock there to block the light. So let's turn on that rock which I turned off before. So this is the rock which is blocking the light. So my ship is here, and then a light is coming from this direction, and then this rock is blocking. Just turn off this rock and you can see there is a bright area, and then turn on that rock, we'll get that blocking, and we also have that sense of framing as well. Like when I add the trees, it will bring more sense. Like just turn on the trees. Okay, with the trees and all, it looks so good. And also with the fog, let me turn on the fog as well here. It will look more a better looking shot. So with the fog and the blocking rock and all those foliage, it looks so good. Around frame 60, my this area is looking too empty, so I added one more rock there to bring some visual interest in the shot. Like from the screen right side, I wanted to read something to block that brighter patch on the sky. I don't want it to read the very bright sky from that angle. So it's like adding simply one more big rock, like copying this and bringing it here to just give that visual interest in the shot. So that's one more big rock I added here. And now this area looks empty because I wanted to add the creature there, the red creature. So I thought of keeping it a bit empty so that shot will read that red character in the frame. Like around this frame, our character will come in. Just bring that character in the shot, and then we can understand it in a better way. So I have added that character to bring that more interest in the shot, like adding warmer or reddish character, which looks really good against the blue environment and the green trees. This kind of different color will definitely look better with the story. So I thought of adding that too. There is one more important thing I added in this shot is around 27 frame. We are reading this brighter sky, and I wanted to add some floating rocks there. And creating floating rocks is really easy. Like if I open a new Blender file, and I can show it in a really easy way because now the file is heavy. I took some of these floating rocks here. I already had some cool rock element. For example, let's take this two and duplicate it one more time and make this as a floating rock. Bring it somewhere around here. And let's assume that I used this one here. I wanted to create some floating, like a structure, like I wanted to add some kind of veins here, and then bringing that effect is really cool. So I started adding the bezier there, like took a curve and made it bigger, and then just rotating it and bring it up. Just adding this bezier and duplicate it like multiple times. Let me bring my another screen here because I'm using multiple screens. So after adding this bezier, like I copied them like multiple times, alt delete and just bring it here, and alt delete, bring it here, rotate it one more time and just add it somewhere like this. You can keep adding this kind of stuff to get more that of connection between the two rocks or these three rocks. And then select any one bezier, go to the depth and make it 2. Oh, that's too much. Okay, something like this. I kept it like that, and then next step is adding vegetation. So for the vegetation, I used one of the free add-on called IV generator. I have shared the link in the description. Please check that, and they have some cool tutorials how to add the vegetation on the assets. It's really simple one. Anybody can do it in one go. And using that technique, I have created the vegetation. Like, so using that simple method of adding that vegetation add-on, I have created the rocks. Like I just took the same rock and multiple time in different size and adding this spline, and using that IV generator, I simply added this vegetation all around the rocks and made a floating rocks in the scene, which looks really cool with the lighting angle and the overall green touch on the rock. It really helped me to sell the shot. So these floating rocks really helped me to bring the avatar look because they have a lot of floating rocks in the movies. So I just try to mimic and create one of my own style. So that is the important thing of Blender. And I have like created the missiles and all those stuff like very manually. Like there is one more free add-on for the missile or the trail effect. I will share the link for that as well. And so using that technique, I have created the missiles. For the blast, I used one of the element from the VDB force that I have. And also you can just find some of the cool free elements. Like in this page, you can just go and check this Janga VFX, and they have some cool free element, VDB element. You can use that in the shot. Now I will let you know how I did the rendering for the shot. Let me bring it to the normal view. So the rendering is really easy for this shot. I just did not struggle much for the rendering because my layers are really set in a way that I can render it in very easy way. My hero character is in one layer, which is the hero fly. Let me turn off all the layers and you can see how I rendered the shot. The first thing I rendered is the warship in the shot, which is the hero object. And then second thing, I rendered this whole FG area, like from first frame to frame maybe 50 or 60, only the FG area. And then after that, I turned off the FG and then mid-ground, only the mid-ground here, because I wanted to keep everything in control. And then likewise I did the background. I did not render them all in one. I just made like one background here, and then second, and then third. Like keeping them in multiple layers can give me more control in the comp to create more depth or have more control in the depth. And then I rendered the fog in separate layer. Like if I turn on all the scene and keep them, like keep the indirect here, like I'll just hold out and view it from the shot, and let's see it from the here. Let's go to the frame 41 and see how that looks. And for the fog, I just keep everything on hold out here. Then I rendered the fog in separate layer so that I can have more control while adding it in comp. Like merging it in comp is really easy than just rendering all in one. So my shot is rendered without the fog and then added that fog into the comp. Then comes the clouds. Adding the clouds or the cloud VDBs is really easy. Like it's very manual stuff. I did not do any like procedural stuff for the clouds. So I have this element like VDB clouds, and these are free ones. I will share the link for these as well. I use this element to just spread into my shot. Like I copied them like multiple times. I don't want it to repeat the same texture or the same formation or the same shape of the cloud, so I used 3 different clouds and then spread them all over the shot, like copying them or duplicating them in multiple times. And then you can see my whole shot is filled up with the fog, and this is separate layer. So if you see the layers, all the layers are on holdout and only the cloud layer is on. So let's see if that works. Let's turn on this and view it from the camera and turn off the overlays, and let's see it from the lighting view if that works. So we are seeing the clouds, but all the other layers, like all the assets like the trees and the rocks, cliffs, and everything is held out here by the layers. Like if I just turn them on, you'll start reading those elements in the scene, but I don't wanted them. I wanted the clouds in separate layer. We did the same thing for the fog as well, and I'm doing the same thing for the cloud. So just I have more control in the shot. So now we can take a better look with this angle here, that our light is coming from all this angle, and we are getting that shadowing on the clouds because we have the cliffs and everything like rocks, cliffs and trees all around here, and everything is blocked out with the proper shape of the rocks here, and that's why we're getting some dimensions in the clouds. But like we are not reading any brighter clouds, we just have that small dimensions, and this kind of volumetric lightings or the rays going through the clouds is really cool for this kind of shots. So that's it from the Blender. Like these are the main key factors that I used in the Blender. Like there are like small things, adding the missiles and some blast and all those stuff, and adding blast is really easy. Like let me show you that as well. For the blast in the shot, I have the VDB forge and I have like multiple blasts here, and I use like multiple different blasts so that they won't look repetitive. So I use like 1 2 3 4. Let me take this one for example and add it to the shot, and this comes with the default shaders. Then I made some changes in the shading here to get that kind of blast effect. Let me show you that as well. Like for example, by default it has no blast or no fire inside it. So for that I will go to this frame and make some changes in this. I'll remove the temperature and make it density, and I'll use an attribute node and connect the color to the tint and write the intensity here. Now we don't read anything. I'll just increase the intensity. I'll make it 100, and then we're starting reading some of the fire kind of stuff here inside the volumetrics or the blast. I'll just reduce the light so we can get it more clear. I'll make the values 1 so we'll read more the light or the fire inside the blast. I'll bring in color ramp in between the color and the attribute and just play with the values. I'll just make it so this kind of effect is cool. I can make the change in the color as well. Okay, 2000. Okay, that is cool. I'll keep it something like this, like warmer or something. And then a blast has kind of fire inside it, and whenever I play it, it will be like a fire. So this is really important thing when you add this kind of blast. Try to read some fire and then it will go disappear in the smoke, which will bring some more natural impact in the blast. You can add this kind of shading at values in any kind of blast you have, so that will be easy. And I don't have much idea about this, but this works for me and I use this. So I hope it will be useful for you as well. So these are the main key factors I use for this shot in Blender, and now I started compositing the shot in Nuke. Let me open that file and show it to you. This is my comp file, and the shot is too big because there are like multiple layers and too many comp elements that I have added into shot to look it more better. Once you follow the steps and if you have more control on the layering, you won't be stuck into the comp. So whenever you do the comping, try to do the naming and all, and it will be easy for the comp. Let me show you all these important layers. Like I have a creature layer, foreground, midground, background, and the clouds and the chopper or the warship, and all those extra elements like fog, mist, and missiles and all that. So this was the final output, and let me go one by one here. This is the creature. I tried some subsurface pass, but I did not use that. There are some other creatures, but also I did not use them in the background because we won't be able to see them in the haze, so I did not use them at all. This is the foreground layer, this is the midground, and this is the floating rocks here in the sky. And then the background layers are like, there are like, I rendered the background layer in like 4-5 layers. So 1, 2, and 3, and this one is 5. I think this one is somewhere around here, the only small guy here, and then the screen right rock, which is around here. So this is like, I wanted to have more control, and also rendering will be easy when I have the more layers and I know which one goes where. So I just named them correctly here, like as per the depth. So the naming is correct here. And then comes the clouds. For the clouds, this is my main cloud render. Like if I go to this frame, you can see the main scene here. Then I also have some extra clouds like extremely FG clouds. Whenever the camera is in the starting frames, I wanted to have some more clouds in the camera, like they are hitting on the camera at the start. And the clouds around the floating rocks, I wanted to keep them separate because I can do the grading as like separate layer. It will be easy to do the grading. And here is the clouds in the background, some extra clouds on the extra background details. And this is the cloud when the bird, the red creature, is moving from that place. I just wanted to give some hazy feel on the bird because of the creature, because it was too prominent in the corner. So I wanted to bury it in the cloud or the hazy feel. And then there are clouds on the screen right rock structure here. And then the warships. So these are the thrusters, and this is the main layer of the warship. I took the separate render for the blades here because I wanted to have the motion blur from the Blender because it looks so natural. And then the background ship, and these are the trails for the FG ship, and some fog layer. And this is the entire fog layer, which is really the beautiful thing in the shot. I have like try to keep it more bluish and cool tone so that I can control it in comp whenever I want. And this really helped me to give the depth in the shot. So whenever you do any like environmental shot, try to get the fog pass in different as a different pass, and then it will be really helpful for you to do the compositing, and it will give more control to do the tweakings. And then I also took the mist from the EV, so I can have a depth pass here and I can control the overall grading, or I can do anything. And then I have the enemy ship. I think it should be visible around last here and then at the first. And then I have this missile trails. So these are created from one of the free add-on. So in this, using this free add-on, you can also create this kind of trails, which is really easy. You can just try it in and it will be possible in just one go. You can just spend 5 minutes and you can learn how to do it. So using that technique, I just try to do this kind of trails. Then I have the blast here. So each blast is separate layer, like this one, and if at frame 30, around frame 65, this guy on the screen right, and also on the screen left side behind the rock. And then extra layer like some missing trees and all, I just took them in a secondary layer. I wanted to add some missing trees here. When the ship was very close to the tree, I wanted to get some tree leaves interacting or flying out of the tree, and I just tried to do that with the particle and it worked well, so I just took that as a render. And then I have the short camera here. I just took it to the Nuke so I can project something. Try to put the 3D cards in Blender file. This card is somewhere around the background. So if I bring a background geometry, it will be close to that. So let me bring that in. So this is my BG cliff here. Whenever I want any card, I will place it in Blender and I will bring it to Nuke so I can project anything on that. So like, for example, if I take a look at this PG element, these have no trees and I wanted to project some trees and clouds on it, so I use that card for the background projection, so which I'll show in some time. Then I started my comp by adding a constant which is for the sky. I wanted to use the sky render here, but it's not useful because it will be in the haze and we won't read any sky details, so I just used a constant and did some grading overall, like getting a bit brighter and making it a bit cooler. Then comes the warship, which is I named it as an enemy ship. It just I placed it on the constant which is as a sky here, and then just added some haze. In this kind of shots I always try to keep some haze on the background stuff, that will blend the CG stuff really good because it won't look very contrasty, and of course we should read some kind of haze and that will definitely help to integrate the shot. And then I have this background layer which is this background cliff, and also I did same hazing stuff on this as well. And then using those cards I just showed, I added some 2D clouds and 2D trees because I did not render those trees in 3D because since it's too far from the camera and we don't read the parallax, I knew that I can project that in Nuke, and that really went well here. So I just took this element like a tree element, this one, and I just merged it like multiple times and just scattering it on the exact shape of the rock, and then just placed it on the main comp. And then overall grading, like let me fill it to the screen. I just added some blur here using this roto and made it like added some blur and made it like mist pass just in the background, so it will be blended really well and we don't read any sharp edges like this. Then comes the cloud render. You took the extra cloud render from the blender using those cloud VDBs I showed earlier and merge them on the shot just to get that kind of hazier feel or the misty feel on the background clips. I don't want it to keep them really prominent, so if I just turn off these all the 2D and the CG mist, you can really find that it's really getting buried into the scene. And then comes the background layer and also the hazing on top of that, and this time the hazing is too less because now the things are getting close to camera and I just wanted to keep less hazy than this one so it will look more into the depth. Then comes the 2D element using the same cards exactly on this position. I used this 2D element and placed it on top of that cliff. And then comes the blast here. I named them as according to the frame number. So this blast is going to happen on 89th frame, so let's go to that frame and check that. So there is a cliff in front of this blast, and then I added some bloom and all for that. So using the glow node and optical glow, I'm sharing all these plugin or gizmos into the description. You can check those and you can download them. All these plugins are free. And then comes the background here, one more background layer. Yeah, so that blast is just behind the background, so we don't read that here. And like if I go 2, 3 or 4 frames ahead, you can just read that background blast. And then the screen right rock, which is visible around here, so it will give a good framing. I just wanted to have a big rock here, which is a floating one. And then comes the creature like around frame 70 or 69. This space was empty, so I added this creature here and this looks really good, so I just kept it like that. Then there are some extra clouds, like I think this one is, yeah, just exactly on the bird, so I did not use it here. I used it in like in the end of the comp because it was integrating there well, so I'll show you that as well. And then comes the mid ground, the layer where the ship is about to hit the ground at the last frame. I have the floating rocks, like if I go to the frame 27 or 25, you can see the sky is too bright. For that I have added these floating rocks and that looked really good, which gives me an avatar look, which is really a nice one. And then I have added some 2D stuff as well, like I have VDB clouds as well, but I wanted to have some more and feel on the floating rocks, and I don't want it to go back to Blender and render all the stuff because of the time. I thought of adding it in 2D and it really worked well. And if I just turn it on and off, you can see the cloud is really integrating with the floating rocks, which really looks good and natural. And there is one more blast at the frame 60. Let's go to the frame 60 and check that. So this tiny blast, and that will grow when we go to the frame 62. And then we have the one more blast at frame 65. Let's go to the frame 65 or 67 and view it from here. So I have the one more blast here, and then comes the cloud render. This is the cloud render I took, and I just merged it on top of my comp and did some grading and all. Like if I just turn off the grading, it will look a bit bright, so I just did some grading to make it integrated, and also I wanted to make it look just a bluish color here. Like if I turn it off, it will look very warm because of the light and the mist color or the material I used in Blender. But that is really easy to control in Nuke. Just use the color correction node and do the grading. I just made it a bit cooler. I have the warship, background warship here, the small one in the background. I used the same model and just placed it in the background one more time and animated it in such a way that it will just pass through this cloud and this exit or this passage of the cliffs. Then comes the interactive elements. Like I have this very nice interactive element. I downloaded it from Production Crate, which is free one, and it has like interactive nature in it. So I used it like multiple times whenever the ship is crossing through the clouds or the mist. It helped me to bring the more motion in the static clouds. Same, I used it like multiple times. If I go to the frame, it's frame 73. Let's go to the frame 75 and check this on the rock area here. And then comes the foreground. Like if I go to the frame 35 or maybe frame 7, now we don't have foreground here. And then I have added my foreground layer. I did some grading in the foreground. Since the foreground is really visible in the camera, I did some 2D stuff here, like adding the grade and making some variation, like using the crypto mat. I used the crypto mat to get some grading, like on different areas of the trees or the FG trees, so that they will be like not same at all and we'll get some kind of variation. So if I just take the raw render and the entire comp here, we can see there are like a little difference in the look and feel. I just placed it on top of my comp. Then comes my fog pass. Now shot looks very contrasty when you see my fog layer, and when I add it on top, the shot will look integrated again because we have more hazy feel. Like shot is not very contrasty, and this is really the fun part in CG comping, that you can add haze to make the shot look really blended. And then I have interactive element again here, like these ones. When ship is crossing through the trees, I use the same element, which is interactive element, and then just give some variation in the, maybe some motion in the smoke when ship or the warship moves from the camera. Then I have the hero ship here, like added the main hero ship. And for the ship I did some grading. Like if I turn off, you might find ship very dark. I did some grading, like making the gamma and gain changes to make it a bit brighter, and added some bluish tone. It was looking a bit magenta, but I did some grading and then it worked well. And using the normal pass, I just did some grading on the other side, which is in the shadows, and then took this the chopper blades or the propellers in separate render. Then the extra clouds, like I think this one is around the big ring. Yeah, so I have some cloudy renders here from the EV. Just use the noise pass and created some cloudy fog. It's the element which moves through the camera. You can create it in Nuke as well. I have planned to create some tutorials where I can use this kind of misty feel and show in detail how to use them and how to create them in Blender and bring it to the Nuke and use them in Comp. And then I have the blast at frame 106, which is on the center of the frame here, this one. And then the interactive element, like adding more misty feel on that, adding the extra clouds. I think this one is around, yeah, on the starting frame when camera is just passing through the shot at the start, because it was too dark, because I added some light blockers or the big rock to block the light to get that kind of shadowing in the framing. So this was getting too dark in the, I mean, look and feel was too dark, so I did this misty feel here. And then this is the last blast around frame which comes at the camera. And then the missiles, these are all the missile renders, so please check that videos. You can use that add-on to create the missiles. Not like really a big thing, it's really easy one, but maybe I will create a separate short video or something for this. And then I just took a render of this because it was getting too heavy, so I did a pre-comp here. So these are the missile renders I have. So if I check, this missile render might look very different. So this is just a line here, it doesn't look like a smoke, but then I just graded it and I distorted it using the Nuke gizmos and then blurred it to make it look like smoke. So if I play it from here, it will definitely look like a smoke. And since it's a very busy shot, you won't able to read what's happening in there. And then I just took this 2D missile and added it like in 2D to just add some details. Like this one, I don't have a missile render in 3D. I just rendered it using the Nuke 2D elements, like a single element. Then this is the trail for the main hero ship. I took these renders from the Blender, or this is from the background. So this is the thruster. I already showed it to how to create this kind of thrusters in one of my previous tutorials. So please check that out if you want to learn how to do this. And then I have the trail effect here. I took these trails using the same add-on, did some grading and kind of blurry feel for the haze or the heat of the engines, and did some lensing stuff like vignetting and blurring on the edges, chromatic aberration, that kind of thing I always do in my comps. And then this is the final comp. So this is the entire shot, and I know this is quick and very fast to understand, but I'll try to cover most of these points in my upcoming videos, and I will try to create some cool and creative shots, and definitely you can learn a lot from that. So stay tuned and please subscribe my channel, and let me know if you want anything more, or if you have any ideas or content, please let me know that too, and I will try to create a shot or scene using those ideas. And happy learning. Thank you.